Welcome to Real Takes
and Movie Breaks.
I'm Kimberly.
I'm Michael.
And today we are reviewing the film
Mickey 17.
This will be our spoiler review, so if you don't want spoilers, click the link in the description where we won't give too much away. But if you're curious to know our in-depth analysis of the film, keep on watching. We'll talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and if we would recommend seeing it in a movie theater. And we will also share how we as filmmakers might improve the film if given the opportunity. So we'll start with what we liked. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the idea was a very interesting idea. I like the sort of the setup. I like the sort of Star Trek-y futurism of it. I think there's some really cool ideas and different things that they're playing around with. Like Robert Pattinson. That's it.
I love Robert Pattinson. He was my favorite part about the movie. I love that he was able to play two different versions of the same character. I found that really fascinating. It actually reminded me of Constellations, playing multiple versions of the same character, where
there were some themes in there.
Yes, where you're playing the same personality but a slightly different variation of that personality. It's not easy, and then to interact with yourself in that way. Robert Pattinson was amazing. So that was really my favorite part about it. I also really liked the themes. I liked that it was a cautionary tale, and it has some good lessons in there, some good morals, and I liked the happy ending. I liked that it is unique. I like how unique it is, how it's not a derivative, formulaic, predictable plot. I like the cinematography. I thought it was a very well-made film. Nicely shot. I liked most of the acting, and I liked the writing. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah, I just had issues with the nature of the satire and the way in which the satire was executed, namely by, I like Toni Collette okay. She's okay. Mark Ruffalo, I think, that's one of the worst performances I've ever watched by any actor in a long time. Mark Ruffalo's portrayal as sort of this very, very thinly veiled version of Donald Trump in space is, it even if that's really, like, that's what we're doing, just do it and do it with a commitment to that's who you are. Mark Ruffalo is winking to us the whole movie. Aren't I playing such a schmuck? Mm-hmm. Look at me, I'm playing the schmuck. And maybe that's the case, but do it for real. Stop with this.
Either fully commit to a Donald Trump impression,
yeah, or
not. But this kind of half, like, oh, doesn't this sort of like remind you of Donald Trump?
But why is it? But why is it necessary? Is the question I have. I mean, I get it that that's what's going on in the zeitgeist of right now, and that's what everybody's talking about, and that's what's in. But it's also kind of old because it's like, I feel like that's been, like, Don't Look Up was kind of doing this 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, we get it. You're saying that if we continue moving in this direction, then we're going to basically become this very non-compassionate society where people are cloning people and the clones are expendable, and you're using the clones to do all this harsh stuff and test what will kill a person and what won't, and it's very bleak and dystopian. And and Bong Joon Ho, he does Snowpiercer, and it's got a lot of those same themes and everything. This movie, to me, is a missed opportunity because you have such a great idea. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. What you're playing with here, which is the human printing. There's so many things you can do with this idea. I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, I wish I had thought of this human printing. There's so much stuff you can do with this. The memory implants. So many films that I love from the past that have messed around with the idea of memory implants, clones, even movies like Multiplicity, played with this idea and played with it in a way that was fun or cool or made you think. The movie Total Recall does this, does it better in the year 1990. It's one of Arnold's movies, and it's great. It's like a Philip K. Dick story. Blade Runner messes around with a lot of this stuff, with replicants and the morality around that stuff. You're standing on the shoulders of giants with a film like this, and instead of like soaring with this idea and giving, like, even that movie Vanilla Sky has great sort of sci-fi elements that, with him being, spoilers, him being frozen at the end, and we realize he's actually in a memory implant dream. And you don't do any of that stuff. Instead, you basically have this these little alien creatures. They're fine, they're cute, whatever. To me, the alien creatures, the little that's a cop out. If I've ever seen one, it's a total cop out. It's not like, it's nothing original about it. It's like it's some sort of recycled Avatar plot line. Kinds of stuff with the clones. I thought they were going to have Robert Pattinson try to survive as long as he could while other Mickeys are getting cloned.
This was actually based on a book called Mickey 7. Why they changed this to Mickey 17 isn't really explained, because it's not like we really got to know any of the other Mickeys. We just saw this montage of Mickeys, but we never really got to know. So I didn't quite understand what is the significance of 17. Also, Mickey 18 comes out and he's way more macho and masculine than this kind of wimpy, people-pleasing, like, definitely a far from confident type of character. Why is Mickey 18 suddenly this more like macho, douchey, like bro who has more of a backbone? Why? They didn't explain why. And I thought at first in that scene, in the dinner scene, when they talked about, you're experimenting with like a hormone, I thought, okay, maybe that's supposed to explain why Mickey 18 came out with more like testosterone than Mickey 17. Because Mickey 17 is nicer, sweeter. Mickey 18 just wants to kill Mickey 17 immediately. Mickey 17 is like, no, we can live together, we can coexist, we can split up the work, and that way we don't have to work as much, and we can split the food, split the work. And I would have loved to have seen that actually happen, to see them try to survive on their own more, which didn't happen. And I didn't like, so there were moments, so I like that they wanted this to be a dark comedy, because I love dark comedy. So I liked the attempt at dark comedy. And there were moments that made me laugh. So sometimes the comedy worked, and then sometimes the comedy didn't work. And I will say, when the comedy didn't work, I feel like it really didn't work. Like the thing about the pimple, the thing about, just kidding, the little alien creatures were bluffing, they can't kill you with the sound, ha 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 ha. Like the certain moments,
these are like little cop-out
those types of, and the comedy in terms of like the obvious, on the nose, beating you with the head political satire. I mean, the villains were very cartoony, and I guess that was like a deliberate choice. But it wasn't funny to me. It was kind of like obnoxious. Like, okay, I get it. I feel like if they leaned more into the subtle, if they tried to present those there's nothing wrong with having a clear message. I like when there is a clear message in a movie, but if you're presenting it in a way that's so on the nose, it's kind of like too heavy.
Also, I don't understand why the Mickey 18 is so different. I don't get you're habanero and you're mild Mickey. I don't get that. Why? Is it because Mickey 17 didn't die? And if 17 doesn't die, then something goes weird with the next one?
Yeah, they didn't explain it.
But that's like saying, like, well, the spirit, Mickey's soul, like, I thought what they were gonna go for is his soul. Mickey's soul is still residing in 17. So when you have multiples, the 18 the next one has no soul. It's sociopathic. I thought that's where they're going to go with that, and that would have been an interesting idea. And you could have had an explanation like, we don't really understand why this is, but if the copy that came before is still alive, the next one is just missing something. That would have been interesting. That would have been an interesting like sort of twist on this. Like, okay, maybe there's something at the genetic molecular level that constitutes a soul, and then we could get into that sort of philosophical stuff while also having a very smart, futuristic sci-fi with these human printing. It's a great idea. It's, there's a lot of great stuff in there.
So they could have explored, like what you were saying. I was hoping this movie would go deeper into posing questions about consciousness. And can you preserve consciousness by downloading memories into a clone? What is consciousness? So I was hoping this movie would sort of examine what is consciousness in the way that you were describing, or in a different way, but at least explore that theme a little deeper, which they didn't do. And I was hoping that the film would also explore more about an alien species and, if life can exist on other planets in the future, maybe depict that life in a way that is more interesting than what we saw. It was silly. It was really silly.
Yeah.
The alien creatures were just silly to me and cartoony.
But every single one of these types of movies, they always pose humanity as this great threat to the ecosystem and the balance of these alien creatures. So like in Avatar or whatever, it's the same thing. It's always us and they're like the Native Americans or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. There's some analogy you could make. Why? Like, why do you have to do that? Like, what? Why?
It's like these writers just want us to feel guilty for being human.
Dumb. It's dumb. That's my problem, is that it's dumb. It's not smart.
Cloning itself raises a lot of ethical questions, and they didn't really dive that deep into those ethical questions.
Right.
I just feel like they could have explored these themes so much more in so many more creative ways.
They were lazy.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They were lazy. Mm-hmm. There are 10 different ways this movie could have gone, and this is like me trying to fix the movie on the fly. 10 different ways this movie could have gone that would have been better than the direction that they went. You could have had, there's a movie called Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. It's 10 years ago. And he dies continuously, keeps coming back, and he's trying to figure out how to beat the alien race that's invading, right? A lot of people have seen this movie, and he has to keep dying so he can keep figuring out new ways forward, right? Great film. And that's a film where we keep seeing all the different ways that he dies. This movie could have been the inverse of that. Mickey 17, because he's now been delinked from the line of Mickeys, you could have continuously had Mickeys that keep dying and getting reprinted, but you could have had Mickey 17 somehow survive, or somehow try to get out, escape from his contract and get back to a regular life or whatever. You could, or whatever. That's one route, and you could have had a bunch of ways that he narrowly escapes death by the grace of because he's the one that has a soul. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there could have been that kind of direction. You could have had
multiple Mickeys. You
could have had multiple Mickeys take over the ship, or Mickey leads a revolt, kind of like in Snowpiercer, where they get to the end of the train. Could have had that where he eventually gets to the Mark Ruffalo character, and you could have made the Mark Ruffalo character smarter, so that his character actually has a philosophy that can kind of battle Mickey's philosophy. You know? Mickey could become some kind of a cult hero of the sci-fi world or something. I don't know. Those are different things you can do, generate ideas and an interesting narrative.
Yeah, if I were to remake the movie, I would have Mickey 17. I would explain why Mickey 18 is different, and I would have had them compete more and work together more to survive and to overcome the bad guys. Whereas we just didn't see a lot of that, like instantly they got found out. I thought there might be like multiple clones at some point where we would have like 10 clones of Robert Pattinson. But that didn't happen either. And yeah, I just feel like the messaging of this movie is not very clear. I feel like it's sort of, the political messaging is clear, but other than that, there's nothing that's clear about it as far as, is it ethical to try to preserve human consciousness by downloading memories into a clone? Is that ethical? We keep hearing these questions throughout the movie. Hey, Mickey, how does it feel to die? Several characters ask him this question, and all we get from him is, it scares me every time. It sucks. I hate it. Okay, well, that's not very profound. Like, why tell that story? So, like, I thought at some point we would finally get this profound answer from him, because we keep hearing all these characters ask him, what's it feel like to die? What's it feel like to die? And then finally he answers the question to the girl and he goes, it sucks. It scares me every time. It's like, that's it? So, I mean, that's something we all wonder. And, people have shared like near-death experiences before, so we could have gone down that route, and the movie would have been way more intriguing and thought-provoking. But just to have two philosophies presented, as far as like, instead of Mark Ruffalo's character just being this caricature of a political figure we already know, maybe actually like have him grounded in a real philosophy versus just like kind of like a one-dimensional like villain. So I mean, there's so many ways you could have explored these ideas on a deeper level and a more entertaining level. I feel like if I were to make the movie, I would cut out all the silly jokes and figure out a way to bring out like real humor in a more clever, like witty way.
3 out of 5 for me on this.
Yes, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I will say one more thing that I really didn't like. I liked that it had a happy, hopeful ending. Okay, clear that the message is clear. Cloning is wrong. Having an expendable is inhumane. So that's nice messaging. But the whole thing about the dream, like that cheesy dream he had where Toni Collette is asking him to drink the sauce. And what does the sauce represent? Comment below if you understand the analogy of the sauce. What does the sauce represent? And I thought that the aliens at some point might represent like sentient beings. Or beings from the future. But I didn't get a clear understanding of, okay, where do these aliens come from and what do they represent, if anything? And
they're just little CGI gizmos.
That whole dream, was that just to kind of throw us off and make us feel like, oh, it could have gone in a really dark place, but it didn't?
It's just another
Was it just a way to like mislead us for a second and then bring us back?
It was just a way to extend the runtime.
So I think the editing there could use some work. But I would rate it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a movie worth seeing. And if you have seen the movie, hopefully watching our review helped you process it, maybe think about it on a different level. Let us know what you think about the movie. Maybe there's something we missed. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts if you agree with us, disagree with us. Great films stimulate great conversation. So I'd love to chat more. So drop us a comment. And if there are any films you'd like us to review, feel free to share that as well in the comments. And anything else?
Stay real.
Stay real and have good takes.
Have good, great takes.